Millions visit this museum every year, but one section leaves tourists completely speechless. They walk in quiet, they slow their steps, they stop and stare. The room feels like a secret, a hushed chamber tucked away from the bustling crowds and echoing halls. The paintings in that room are all nudes. They show the human body in its many forms, a landscape of flesh and bone rendered in oil and pigment. They show beauty, yes, but they also show vulnerability. They show pain. They show a profound and unvarnished truth that catches the breath and stills the wandering mind. This is where the noise of the outside world fades away completely. At first sight, a nude painting can deliver a shock. The shock can be a gentle ripple or a powerful wave, depending on the viewer and the art. It can make people blush, a faint warmth rising in their cheeks. It can make people think, their brows furrowing in concentration. Some of these paintings show a single figure, isolated in a moment of quiet contemplation or unguarded rest. The controversy was not a small thing. It was a fire that raged through the salons, through the cafes of Paris. Long ago, not everyone welcomed these nude paintings with open arms. Far from it. Some people, many people, thought they were fundamentally wrong, a stain on the city's moral fabric. Others, a brave and vocal minority, said they were courageous, a necessary step forward for art and for humanity. The paintings caused loud, passionate debates that spilled from private drawing rooms into the public square. People shouted in the streets, their voices rising in anger, their voices rising in defense. Newspapers dedicated entire columns to the scandal, using long, complicated words to argue for shame, to argue for freedom. The conflict reached the highest levels of society. The courts of Paris talked about public decency, about order, about the very definition of shame. These debates were not just about artistic taste or personal preference. They were about fundamental values, about the law itself, about what a society was willing to accept and what it would cast out. The artists found themselves at the center of this storm, their brushes and canvases becoming weapons in a cultural war. Each stroke of paint was a political act. One famous painting, now a cornerstone of the museum's collection, almost got banned entirely. When it was first unveiled, people felt a palpable sense of shock. To understand the conflict, you must understand the Paris of that era. It was a city of immense contrasts, of dazzling wealth and deep poverty, of grand traditions and radical new ideas. Society was governed by strict rules, written and unwritten, that dictated how one should behave, dress, and even think. The art world had its own rigid academy, with standards for what was beautiful and appropriate. For centuries, the nude in art was acceptable only within historical or mythological contexts, a goddess, a nymph, a figure from a Bible story. But then, a new generation of artists emerged. They were not interested in painting goddesses. They wanted to paint the world around them, the world as they saw it. They wanted to paint real people, a real contemporary woman, someone who might live down the street, someone who met your gaze directly, without shame or apology. This was the act that broke the rules, a direct challenge to the established order. One thing, the idealized body of Venus. It was another thing entirely to be confronted by the unapologetic nakedness of a modern woman. The conflict was, in essence, a battle between the old and the new. The old guard believed art had a moral duty to uplift and idealize, not to show humanity in its raw, unadorned state. They feared that raw truth would open the floodgates to chaos and moral collapse. The artists and their supporters argued art's true duty was honesty. They believed beauty could be found in truth, even if that truth was uncomfortable or challenging. This was more than an artistic disagreement. It was a philosophical war about whether art should serve the state and its traditions or the individual artist's vision, no matter how radical that vision might be. And that struggle shaped everything that followed. So why did so many people truly fear nude art? Well, the first reason, and perhaps the simplest, is a deep-seated fear of change. Art has the power to show us new ideas, to present the world in a way we have never seen before. New ideas can make people feel unsure, unmoored. They want rules they can understand, a world that feels predictable and safe. A new kind of picture that breaks all the established rules of decency and form can feel like a threat to that stability. The second reason is about control. When people see the human body in a new and direct way, it can change their thoughts about powerful social structures like class, money, personal freedom. A painting that shows a working-class woman with the same dignity and presence as a duchess can be a revolutionary act. It suggests that all people have an inner life, a humanity not defined by their station. Those in power often do not like this quick, quiet change. They prefer a world of clear hierarchies. Nude art, by democratizing the human form, was a subtle but potent threat to that control. The third reason is closer to home. The nude shows the truth, and truth can be a kind, gentle thing, or a hard, piercing light. When truth shines, it can hurt those comfortable in shadows. A realistic nude strips away the costumes, the manners, the social pretenses we all use to navigate the world. It shows a person as they simply are, vulnerable, mortal, and real. For a society built on elaborate codes and masks, this honesty can feel like a personal attack, an exposure. Faced with such fierce opposition, the artists who painted these works had powerful reasons to keep going. They were not just trying to cause a scandal, they were on a mission. For some, the mission was purely aesthetic. They wanted to explore the endless possibilities of beauty, curves and planes of the human body, light and shadow, color, the subtle warmth of skin, a muscle tensed beneath the surface, the delicate grace of a hand at rest. For them, it was a technical and artistic challenge of the highest order. For other artists, the motivation was deeper. They wanted to show the truth of life in all its messy, complicated glory, to pull away society's veneer of politeness. Not just beautiful bodies, tired bodies, aging bodies, bodies showing the marks of a life lived. Their rebellion was quiet, not loud or violent, a determined act of showing to make the world a little more honest, a little more human. They used every tool, small, delicate touches suggesting a blush on a cheek, big, bold strokes of light for drama, soft, flowing lines for grace, hard, angular lines for tension and pain, deep shadows holding secrets, tiny details, the slight parting of lips, the tension in a hand, the look in the eyes. Each little part speaks. Each face, even turned away, tells a small secret. A quiet, emotional moment you can feel. You sense the artist's connection to the person they were painting. Not just a model holding a pose, but a human interaction. Trust, vulnerability, a space of safety. Quiet intimacy baked into the very paint. This human connection, this shared moment of quiet rebellion, gives the paintings their lasting emotional power. Visitors today, from all corners of the globe, seem to sense this same secret history and quiet power. They walk slowly through the gallery, their footsteps soft on the polished floors. You see them holding hands, perhaps for reassurance, in a shared moment of awe. You see them close their eyes and breathe, letting the room wash over them. Some smile gently. Some have tears welling. Some look a little awkward, unsure where to direct their gaze. But all of them feel something. The paintings reach them, quiet, steady, undeniable. There is a simple psychological reason. Humans are curious creatures. We have an innate desire to see the unknown, to understand what is hidden. We are hardwired to read faces and bodies for social cues, for signs of emotion, for stories. This skill is ancient. It kept our ancestors safe from threats and helped them form close bonds. When we stand before a painting of a person, our mind goes to work. We seek a narrative. We try to fill the silence with meaning. We ask ourselves, who is this person? Why is she looking that way, with that hint of sadness or defiance? What happened just before this moment was captured? What is she thinking? A painting gives us a single frame from a much larger untold story. Our mind moves inside that frame, imagining the before and after, creating a life for the figure. This empathetic creation makes us participants, not just spectators. In the end, these paintings are famous and powerful because they manage to do three distinct things all at once. First, they are undeniably beautiful. Their color, their composition, and their technical skill. They are masterpieces of the craft of painting. Second, they are historical artifacts holding the memory of hard, passionate debates. They are symbols of a struggle. Third, they reach deep into the human heart. Truth, vulnerability, what it means to be human. When these elements meet in a single object, the result is incredibly potent. So when you finally step into that quiet room, allow yourself to slow your breath. Let your eyes adjust to the soft light. Don't rush. Look at the way the light falls on the painted skin. Listen to the silence and let it speak to you. Think of the noise and anger that once filled the city because of the very image you are looking at. Think of the immense courage it took for the artist to create such a work, and for the model to pose for it. And then, think of the simple, profound lesson it offers, that art can show us the truths we often try to hide, even from ourselves. In showing us this truth, art can free us. It can free us to see the world and each other with more honesty and less judgment. It can teach us to feel, to connect with the shared humanity beneath our social costumes. Millions of people visit this museum every year. Many come for the famous clock, the bright sunlit halls. But some leave with a deeper, lasting change inside them. They have seen the room that stops time. They have felt the quiet power of a nude painting that dared to be honest. And they have carried a small light home with them in their hearts.